So when I went to Hillsborough, I met a few people who were also living with mental illness, but they would never speak about it to each other or in front of people. And I said, what if I got a few friends together and we went to Starbucks and we sat down, drank coffee or tea, and just talked about what we went through that week? And none of my friends would do it. They were like, I'm never going to admit the thoughts that I have on a daily basis. I'm never going to say that in front of anybody else. And I was thinking, well, why not? If you're with people who feel the same things that you feel, why are you afraid? And then I thought, I'm not really talking about it much either. So I decided to start being more active when I spoke, and I found out that the reason why people are so afraid to share is because of how quickly people are to judge. So when I say the word bipolar, the world sees someone in a straitjacket.
Amen.
And when I say schizophrenia, people see a homeless person getting into a fight. When we use buzzwords like that, when we say diagnoses like schizophrenia, bipolar, and depression, people see the ugly side. They don't see the creative side. They don't see that people who live with that can be sweet and be honest and be kind and hug people and love people. They don't know that these people have sons and daughters and mothers and friends and brothers and sisters. And what I really wanted to focus on today, just like I said, I'm going to keep it real short, is when I first decided that I wanted to talk about it, I was trying to figure out who to reach. I was like, where can I find people who live with mental illness? And I realized that the world is divided into two groups. It's people who admit that they live with mental illness, and there are people who pretend that they do not. So I realized that I didn't have to search high and low for people to talk about this with, because the person who's bagging my groceries at Publix and the person who's driving the cab next to me in traffic, all these people either live with one of these illnesses, or their mother does, or their best friend does, or their aunt does, or their son does. And I think the only thing that I really want to say to you guys tonight is every single person is affected by it, and it doesn't have to be as ugly as the media paints it, as ugly as we stereotype it to be. And it's difficult to be a teenager and live with this stuff, because when you are in high school, I remember one time I was in 9th grade, I wore a shirt that was a little too small for me, I will admit. It was a small. I will admit it was a little small. And I wore it on the first day of school because I loved it. It was my favorite shirt. It was really comfortable. And this girl who sat next to me in class, her name was Jean Lin. And the first thing she said to me was, ooh, shouldn't have worn that shirt on the first day. And for the rest of that day, I was in my head. So if I was that self-conscious about something that I wore, how much more self-conscious would I be about a character trait that I couldn't get rid of? And I was so afraid to speak about it because I immediately assumed that nobody would understand. So I decided to keep it to myself, and unfortunately, so many other kids my age were also keeping it to themselves. And if you keep it bottled up, if you never look at it straight in the eye, if you never admit it, if you never tell your girlfriend or your mom or your brother or your best friend at school or your teacher, guidance counselor, anybody, even someone random at the park, you sit down next to someone and be like, bro, can I talk to you about something pretty serious right now? Like, it's not, what I realized, my point is, the who is not important. And my whole life, I was so swept up with how do I share it and who do I tell? I'm so nervous. Who's not going to judge me? Who else is affected? And that doesn't matter because everyone is affected. And it doesn't matter who you share it with. It matters that you share it.